So we've only got some established homeschoolers at the moment. Well, there's a few more people around who haven't introduced themselves. So over the past week or so, I've heard of a lot of people pulling their kids out of school. In Australia here, the schools aren't really shutting down, only the schools that have confirmed cases. So we'll see how that decision pans out. But a lot of people are choosing to keep their kids out of school anyway, especially people with kids who are immunocompromised, have other health issues, and people who just believe that we should be isolating ourselves at the moment. So if that is you, welcome. Who knows how long we'll be at home for? You never know. You might decide that you love it and you might not ever go back to it. You might be happy to stay home for a few months and then breathe a sigh of relief when school is back on. But for now, we've got to make the best of what we've got. And I have heard from a few people actually who have been thinking about homeschooling for a while, and this has been the final push that they need to get started in it. So yeah, if that's you as well, welcome. Okay, Veronica said, hi, I managed to find your live video. Yay, I'm so glad you did. Thank you. Okay, so let's have a look at this. All right, we've got 21 people here now. That's pretty good. I may as well get started. You must have found me. It's only about 7 minutes late, so, you know, hopefully you weren't hanging out for it. Okay, so yeah, if you're in this situation of not sending your kids to school, or if you're in the situation where you're a homeschooler and you've normally got this life where you go out all the time and you have all these fantastic social outings and, you know, you're out every day, because lots and lots of homeschoolers are out and about every day, then it's going to be a pretty big adjustment to staying home a lot. But if you are in that situation, then just know that you are doing the right thing. Like, you're slowing the spread of the disease, which will allow health services to keep up with the cases that are happening. So when you're having a crazy day, or you're feeling cabin feverish, or you're housebound, then just remember that you are saving lives by doing this, and it's only temporary. So we can get through this. So today I'm going to help you get started with your hermit life, and give you lots of non-overwhelming ideas of what you can do to help fill in your days. So I've always homeschooled. I've got 5 kids aged between 11 and 16. And we spend most of our days at home anyway, just because that's what we prefer. We've got so much to do at home that a lot of the time we think, oh, we could go out and do this thing. Then we go, oh, you know, but we've got all these projects that we'd rather do, so we'll just stay at home. So our life is not going to change very much, but your life might need to be a bit more like ours for the next few months. All right, so here we go. Yeah, Lisa McKenzie said slowing down is so nice for busy mums. That's so true, and I wanted to point that out too. Like, we can turn this into a positive, because you look at all the fear and the hysteria going around at the moment, and people saying, oh, I'm going to kill my kids if I have to stay home with them lots and all of that. But if we turn that around and look at it as a great opportunity, like, everyone's always saying how busy they are. You know, no one's got any time to do anything, and how, you know, and we're all guilty of doing it. So, you know, you've got an opportunity to do something, say, oh, I'd love to, but I'm too busy. Well, now we have the opportunity. So, you know, we can stay at home lots with our kids. We can connect with them. We can get into hobbies and interests. We can catch up on all the things that we've been wanting to do but have been too busy to do. So I think it could be a really big positive for a lot of people, a lot of frantic people. Okay, so I'm going to give you lots of non-overwhelming ideas of what to do to fill in your days. So some of the things I suggest might not look a great deal like school, because not a lot of what we do in our house looks much like school, but I can guarantee you that your child will learn, and also that these ideas will help your days go more smoothly, because they'll just give you lots of things to do. And they will also help your child spark interests and find passions and begin hobbies. And that's something that a lot of people say is, you know, they don't know their passions and interests, and people get into their 20s and then they go on these journeys to find themselves. So what if we just find ourselves now? You know, well, we're in this situation of we're not being scheduled and told what to do and whatnot, then learn what we would choose to do if we had our time to ourselves while we do. So your approach to this will be different if you plan to homeschool long term compared to if you're desperate to get your kids back to school as soon as possible. But even if you are desperate to get your kids back to school and you've got schoolwork and you've got things to do, you're still going to have lots of time to fill in the gaps around it. So I'm going to try not to contribute towards your overwhelm, because I have seen lots of lists circulating and they're full of really fantastic educational resources, but there's like 500 of them. And I was sitting there looking at one today thinking, if I was in the situation where I was suddenly in charge of my kids' education and I was suddenly at home with them when I hadn't really planned to be, and people were saying, hey, here's some good resources, and I had a list that was like this long, I would be freaking out by that list. I would have 400 tabs open. I would be crying as I tried to compare one thing to another and work out, should I pay for this or should I use this free thing? And does this align with the curriculum and all that kind of stuff? So, we don't need that at the moment. So I'm going to keep it really to the point. I'm going to take an approach that is person-focused, basically. So we're used to looking at schooling and education from a curriculum focus. Basically, this is what the curriculum says that you will do at this age. So this is what you have to do. And I'm saying, well, we've got a really great opportunity at the moment to look at what we actually want to do. And we can start from that and build out. And that's basically how we homeschool as well. So yeah, it's a different approach, but it leads to a lot less fighting and arguments and work refusal and all sorts of stuff. And it's just generally nicer, and you still learn a lot. So you still learn an insane amount, because you know what it's like when you're interested in something, you learn lots. So yeah, I'll try to keep it pretty simple. And finally, we're pretty low tech with minimal screen time. So if you're looking to pry your kids away from their screens or not have them dependent on them the whole time that they're home, there's lots of good ideas in here for you. All right, so before I get into the thing, Annie Pratt says she's a mum of 3, currently homeschooling her youngest, and now looking at homeschooling my older 2 with what's going on within Australia. Yeah, you're not alone. And personally, I think it's quite a good idea. Heidi says, passion projects. Yes, passion projects are a fantastic idea. And for the Australian Homeschooling Summit that's coming up soon, Heidi's going to be doing a workshop about passion projects for teens. So that's basically what I just talked about, starting with interests and working out from them. So that will be fantastic to go. So Renelle says that she is excited about slowing down and self-isolating because she's got so much to do. They're finally focusing on taking care of and replanting in our garden. We need some more edible gardens. Yeah, my husband bought more seeds yesterday. We've only been in this house for 2 months, but we have a big garden, we have chickens, and it's actually a really good feeling at the moment. All right, so the first thing that I want you to do is just take a deep breath and chill out, because this can be really stressful and it can be overwhelming. There will probably be a lot to do and there will be some big life changes to adjust to, but you can definitely do it. You can manage it. There's plenty of help out there, so drop the pressure on yourself. Don't expect you to get it all done from the start. Don't expect everything to work from day one. Just take it one step and one day at a time. And remember that you can do it and you can get help. Now, the second thing is related to what we were talking about earlier with slowing down. So this is also a really good opportunity to look after our health and get some rest. So sleep is a really big one. Lots of school kids are chronically sleep deprived because they sleep on a schedule that doesn't match their natural rhythms. So if I was in your situation, I would be letting my kids sleep as long as they want. I would be putting in some good screen time habits around the evenings to allow them to go to sleep at a decent hour. And I would also be focusing on eating well. Obviously, we all know the deal, lots of fruit and veg, fresh food, and also reducing stress and getting some exercise. So all of these things are like baseline habits where if you get them right, the rest of your life is so much easier. And it'll also help to ensure that when you do get COVID-19, that you will be better equipped to fight it off. So that's the basics. Just look after your health, your physical and your mental health, because if you get that done, everything else is much, much easier. All right, so now we're going to go into the actual educational stuff. So first up, I want you to evaluate your educational expectations. So if you're in this situation now, suddenly homeschooling, what do you actually expect that you're going to do every day? You can let me know in the comments. You know, like, what do you picture your life at home to be like? So to be perfectly honest, you're not going to get your kids to do 6 hours of schoolwork a day. So they'll rebel, you'll be burnt out, and it won't last. I've seen lots and lots of people do this when they start homeschooling. They try to recreate school at home, and it generally doesn't last very long because it's not pleasant for anyone involved. It's too much work. But the good thing is that when people have evaluated the time that is spent in school, they have found that kids get less than 2 hours a day of direct teacher instruction. So that is a far more reasonable expectation to have of yourself. You know, a couple of hours a day, 5 days a week is totally doable. So set something more like that as your goal. And that leads into the next point, which is focus on the core. So it can be really tempting when you start off to go, oh, I'll do this, and I'll do art history, and we'll do music, and we'll do every single elective known to schools or people all at once, because you want to do a really good job. So you think that means piling on more stuff. But if I was you, I would just focus on the core. So the core is things like reading or English skills. So basically all you need to do for that is to read and talk about what you've read. Like, it really is that easy. So for maths, find out where they were up to in school, get some basic workbooks to get you by, and do a couple of pages a day. And this is a really good opportunity with maths to really solidify the concepts that they've been over in school but may not have necessarily mastered or internalized. So yeah, you can catch up, and you can make it so that when they go back, they know the basics much better. And my other one is science. So basic science experiments are heaps of fun. I have a list of them on my site. I've actually got a post up with all the links that I've put in here. I will share that because I did put that in my original Facebook post, and then of course I lost that. So I keep forgetting my other keyboard's not plugged in. There we go. Right, so that will have the link to some basic science experiments and all sorts of stuff on there. Yeah, and also too, Mystery Science is offering lots of their lessons free. So I don't think you even need an account to sign up. We use Mystery Science for years. They are really, really good. They're like mini unit studies basically for science, and we always had lots of fun. There's lots of hands-on activities. They're short little simple videos that go with them. And they've got some really great concepts, and they cover the scientific method really, really well. Okay, so once you've got that there, so you've got your basics, you've got your English, your maths, and your science, then you can supplement with the rest of all of this fantastic stuff. Now have a look at what else we've got here in terms of comments. Hi D. Lisa calls it focused hobbies. That's a really good one. It's like being intentional with hobbies. Victoria's talked about reading eggs and math seeds and Prodigy. I haven't used any of them. I have had a look at reading eggs. They look pretty good though. Ronelle says FOMO is a real thing, but even without a pandemic, we need to sometimes miss out on great opportunities. But the good thing is they'll always come around. Yes. One thing I always think of when I'm tempted to do something new is I stop and think, okay, if I take this on board, what else will I have to say no to? Because when you're saying yes to one thing, then you're also saying no to other things, because we've only got finite time and energy and all of those things. So yeah, if you're looking at something and it looks really tempting, just say, all right, well, these are the good things about it, but what am I going to have to give up to do that? And if it's something like your only free time or your sleep, or that means you won't have time for core stuff or whatnot, then maybe it's not the best idea to get started with. All right, so next we're going to talk about my favorite thing, and that's books. So books are fantastic. They're cheap or free, and they can teach us things that we don't have the opportunity to learn with direct experience. So they're great for teaching reading skills, obviously, but they're also good for improving vocabulary, spelling, grammar, everything word related, because they expose us to quality language and proper English, not the slang we all use day to day. Most books do anyway. Some of them are not so great, but they generally don't enter my house. So the great thing about books too is that so many are free. So if you can still go to the library, which you should be able to do safely because they're not generally that busy, head in and stock up on heaps of library books. So the librarians will be more than happy to help you out. And also with a library membership, you can access free ebooks and audiobooks, but via apps like BorrowBox, Libby, and Cloud Library. And a lot of library systems have an absolutely huge range of books available. Yeah, and you can usually also access a whole pile of other great stuff. So you've got things like early reading apps, Mango Languages, Lynda online courses, all of these apps and platforms that are usually paid, but your library membership gets you into them for free. We use Mango Languages all the time. I think it is about an $18 US a month subscription, but we get it for free through the library, so that's fantastic. And if you have a child in primary school or a pre-reader, then Epic for Kids is absolutely fantastic. So there are lots of fantastic audiobooks on there and early readers. There's graded readers, there's nonfiction, there's books that read aloud to your child. We use it every day. So I've just put a list together for Rex so he can get the tablet out, he hooks up the Bluetooth speaker to it, and he's got books like Greek myths, Norse myths, famous inventors over time, all sorts of stuff, great explorers. He loves it. So he spends an hour or two a day probably listening to those and playing with his train track, really. So that's only about $8 a month, and the first month is free. So that's a cheap resource that is really well worth it. All right, I'm going to have a drink. I keep it on the floor now because during one of my first workshops, I had it on the table and I knocked it over, and it went all over the cords and everything, and I thought I was going to get electrocuted. I'll put it on the far side of the table now, but I'm always a bit worried. Yeah, Renelle, if you want to link free sites, you can link free sites here. That's fine. Victoria says she creates educational games for maths and reading for a 5-year-old. Just go online. There are so many ideas. Yes, there's heaps. Pinterest is really good. So I started a couple of Pinterest boards the other day that have free printables and sort of quick and easy to start activities. I will put them in the blog post as well. I've been running around frantically this morning, so the blog post is a bit basic, but I'll finish it up. Okay, so point number 6 is getting outside. So just because we can't go to crowded places doesn't mean that we are stuck sitting inside at home. So we can go to parks, we can go to national parks, we can go to the beach, we can even just take full advantage of our backyard. So the weather is pretty good at the moment for most people. It's improving for the Northern Hemisphere. Yeah, that's right. It would be improving for the Northern Hemisphere. And it's still warm enough here in Australia to be out and about nearly every day. So up here in North Queensland, it is actually finally cool enough for us to go out and about after us baking for weeks and weeks and weeks. So when you go outdoors, you can do nature study activities, or you can just take a picnic and hang out. So take a blanket, take a pile of books to read aloud, climb some trees, take some jars for catching and releasing bugs and water life, collect leaves, use a magnifying glass, take a butterfly net, whatever takes your fancy. Just sort of get out, hang out, and have a look at everything. And this is great for science because the stuff that you see outside is the stuff that you then learn about formally in science. And if you can make those connections between the real world, that learning will stick. So my kids have actually been hatching frogs' eggs they found in a puddle a few weeks ago. So we've got 3 big tanks, one with tadpoles, one with is it polywogs? The polywogs, the half frogs, and then one with frogs. So they released 250 frogs into the creek the other day. They've probably still easily got another 1,000. So they are having a great time with that. The next thing to have a look at is art and craft and music. So if you want to learn some skills right now, you have YouTube. So you can learn whatever you want. So things like painting, drawing, crocheting, sewing, knitting. We've also done soap making. We've got a guitar, a keyboard, a couple of violins. We've done hula hooping, skipping tricks. So I was on the jump rope for heart team in primary school, and I can still pull out the moves when I need to. So we got quite into skipping tricks at one stage. Things like handstands and gymnastics, yoga, it's endless. Basically, whatever you want to learn, you can find a tutorial that will get you started. So again, start from what you actually want to do. So you might say to your kids, what do you want to do? And they'll look at you and go, I don't know. But if you know them, you might be able to make an educated guess. And if you're really stumped, then just start doing some easy activities and see if they join you. So stuff like painting or drawing or origami, you know, easy things that you can set up with minimal amount of supplies and just do at the table and say, hey, why don't you come and have a shot at this? Or, you know, look at the paper crane I made. Do you want to have a go? And all of that will get them, you know, doing more hands-on stuff. And that's the way they're going to find their interests, is by experimenting with a lot of different things. So if you have an older child, Skillshare is absolutely fantastic. There's a link to that on the blog as well. So they have a 2-month free trial, and they have lots of classes about stuff like art and photography and writing and blogging, lots and lots of creative stuff. My daughter does painting and hand lettering and whatever else she can find on there, basically. All right, next up is, while you've got them home and while you've got all this time, why not do the home projects that you have been thinking about? So kids are actually pretty good at helping with renovations and stuff. So if you think you want to paint their bedroom, or you want to make a chook run, or you want to make a garden, any of those sorts of things, then get stuck into it. Turn it into a family project. Get them to help you measure and choose colors and do whatever else you need to do. Renovations can actually be a whole lot of fun when you put some music on and everyone is involved. Okay, let's have a quick look at the comments. Lisa said she used to love Jump Rope for Heart. Do you know if they still do it? No, I haven't looked it up recently, actually. I think some of them do. We'll have to check. Maybe we can start a homeschooling mums team. Yeah, I'll be back in Auckland in September, so we can get together and do some moves. All right, so the next thing is pets. So I've got one of ours here that I wanted to share with you. Just give me a moment. So this is Jericho, and Jericho is a blue tongue lizard, and we have 2 blue tongues, and they're a lot of fun. So, you know, if you've been thinking about getting pets, or you've already got some pets, then you're showing off your tongue nicely, aren't you? You're good on camera. Then now is a really good time. So we also have a couple of geese, we have quail, we have laying hens. Is that all we've got? The tadpoles. They're getting a snake soon. They're just waiting for it to be old enough. So yeah, and this is a really good time because, yeah, like you can spend hours out in the backyard with the dog running around. You can do building projects. Like my girls built a quail tractor this morning so that they can move their quail around the backyard on the grass. Yeah, lots of opportunities. Right, Jerry, I better put you back down so that I can keep going. So they're a bit naughty, these blue tongues. They actually are really smart. They escape when we're not looking at them. I walked into my room the other day and I opened my wardrobe and I nearly wet my pants because it was in the bottom of the wardrobe. And of course they look like snakes. So there was a second there that I was actually really worried. And Renelle's put in WooTube maths. Yes, I saw that recently. I really need to get started into watching that. So thank you for sharing that with us. Right, the next thing on the list is life skills. So like hands up who moved out of home with no idea of actually how to maintain a home. So I worked in a commercial kitchen for many years when I was at school. I worked 10, 20 hours a week, but I couldn't actually cook home meals. So now is a really great time to make sure that your kids don't suffer through food like I did when I moved out. So cooking is great. Chores aren't always as well received, but they are essential. Stuff like budgeting, shopping, meal planning, paying bills. You can include your kids in anything, really. And make sure they know how to wash dishes, turn the washing machine on, mop the floor, any of those skills that are essential for being a proper grown-up who doesn't necessarily have lots of money to hire a cleaner every week. And the really good thing about these is that they're skills that they won't learn elsewhere. So these ones are up to you to teach. And if you're wondering about how to get them on board with chores, then just try asking for help. So just tell them the truth. Say, you know, it's a lot of work to maintain this house. It's getting a bit messier and dirty now that we're all here all the time. You're pretty capable. Can you please help me out? You know, what are some chores that you can do? Can I show you how to turn the washing machine on, and you can hang it out on the clothes horse when it's done? Things like that. Like, everyone likes to be needed and useful. And realistically, if you work together as a team with your family, things will go much better. Otherwise, you're going to be busy all the time while they're sitting on their bums doing nothing, and, you know, that's not a really good recipe for life. Okay, and the other thing I wanted to touch on too is smart screen ideas. So screen time is fine in moderation. My idea of moderation is probably stricter than yours, but that's okay. So I touched earlier on having screen-free time before bed to support sleep, and now is a great time to instill some good family screen habits. And by family, that means us too, because we need to model what we want. We can't tell our kids to do one thing and then ignore it, because they're really good at noticing things like that. So that can be stuff like the bedtime screen curfew that I mentioned earlier, things like not having phones and tablets in bedrooms overnight, having a morning routine of things that are done before screen time starts, no screens at meal times. You know, they're all quite simple rules to have, so just pick whatever suits you. So I found that because we have habits like this as a family and we all do them, there isn't any resistance to it. So of course you will get resistance if you're changing ingrained habits, but I do think it is worth it, because at the moment, you know, you've got a good chance of just slipping straight into bad habits, which will be much harder to break further on. If your kids get used to YouTube and Netflix binges and to scrolling through Instagram for hours on end, it's going to be a lot harder for you to fix that after weeks of that than it will be just to jump into good habits from the start. So when you do have screen time, there's two ways to do it. There's intentionally and usefully, or there is mindlessly and uselessly. So when we have screen time, we just have lists of things that we want to do. So I've been watching the Building Big series with Rex because he loves buildings and bridges and tunnels and all that kind of stuff. Like I said, Gabrielle does Skillshare. That doesn't bother me. You know, you're watching a tutorial on the screen and you're creating something at the same time. That's fantastic. We do read ebooks, but we have a balance between ebooks and paper books. And, you know, like, we watch movies as a family. We watch documentaries. We watch stuff like Joseph's Machines on YouTube, which, if you haven't seen that, that is really fun. He makes lots of perpetual motion machines, things like teeth brushing machines, and yeah. Yeah, so just think about that. So before you get stuck into bad habits, think about how you can avoid getting into them in the first place. So if you combine the sort of activities that I've been talking about with the good screen habits, then you should be able to have a nice balance between screen time and non-screen time. All right, so let's have a look at the comments. That's basically my tips. Yep, Liz said she's so focused on teaching her kids life skills. Me too, like, just because I was pretty hopeless. So cooking, you know, we get the kids to cook pretty regularly. There's a lot of times when I say, you know what, I'm not even hungry. What are you going to cook for dinner? And they can do it. They can cook good meals. They can work the washing machine. They can do dishes. They can mop floors. They can clean the bathroom. They always clean their own rooms because that's not my job. Lots and lots of things like that. And now with my oldest, we're moving into driving. So that's one of the things that she's doing at the moment, is learning how to drive, which is a rather essential life skill for now anyway. Okay, so Renelle linked to a KiwiCo email. If you go to the blog post that I have put together, I do have a deal organised with KiwiCo. So they give subscription boxes. So they'll send you a box once a month, and it has a really good STEM project in it. So science, technology type of stuff. We've done quite a few of these over the years, and they are pretty good. They're a bit pricey because they're based in the States, and, you know, our exchange rate is shocking. But with the link that I have and the code, then you get $15 off a 3-month subscription, and you also get a discount off the 6 and 12 month, but I'm just waiting to hear back exactly what that is. So that's a special deal that we've got for that. All right, so do we have any more comments for that? I love Renels. Yes, if they can use technology, they can use a dunny brush. Amen to that. And Lizelle said her 3-year-old can work the washing machine. Yeah, that's fantastic. That's a pretty good effort. All right, so do we have any more questions while I'm here? Anything that you want to ask specifically about resources? I haven't talked about homeschooling registration because it is so different in every country and every state in every country. So it's a bit hard to give an overview of that. From what I have seen, and I'm not a legal expert and I don't play one on the internet, from what I've seen, if you have withdrawn your kids from school, there isn't a need to register to homeschool. You've withdrawn them for medical reasons and you should be able to tell the school that and see, basically get an exemption. You've got a medical exemption from school. And at the moment, I wouldn't stress too much about it. Registration can be quite involved and it is a bit of a learning curve. And I don't think that at the moment they're really going to be chasing people up about it because they've got more important things. So I think that if you let your school know that you're going to be staying at home because you have concerns for health and safety, be firm with them. Because some schools can be quite pushy, say that every day counts and all that kind of stuff. Be firm with them, let them know what you're going to do. While you're enrolled at that school, you can't actually be registered to homeschool in Australia. You can do one, you can do the other. You can't do both. So if you're still enrolled at the school anyway, you don't qualify for homeschooling registration. Oop. All right, so Renelle said she linked to a free page on KiwiCo because they have lots of good projects and experiments there. Lisa said, what do you use for maths with your kids? We started off just doing workbooks and stuff. Over the past year or two, I've become a bit dissatisfied with that, especially when it comes to high school maths. So we're now using Matthew-C with Maths Australia for 3 of the kids, the 3 that still have to do maths. One of them doesn't actually, but she's chosen to carry on with it. And we've only been using Matthew-C for a couple of months, but I really like it. I really like that it's mastery-based. A big problem I had with the school workbooks and stuff is that they just sort of touch on topics lightly and they go around in that spiral approach. And so they just start to get the hang of something and then it moves on to another topic. And you don't return to that first topic again for another year. Whereas with Matthew-C, by the time you finish that unit, you know that stuff backwards. And the manipulatives are great too. But again, if you're only going to be homeschooling for a few months, the workbooks will do. Most homeschooling maths curriculum, if you're buying full curriculum, it will cost you a few $100s to get started off with. So yeah, I wouldn't necessarily go and recommend that you do that. And also too, they don't always match up with school curriculums. So if you're a long-term homeschooler, definitely look at Maths Australia and see what they've got. If you're only planning to be homeschooling for a couple of months, then just stick with the work that the school recommends or go get some workbooks, things like Excel or targeting maths or any of those ones. There's lots and lots out there. You can just buy them online. They're like $15 each. So that'll get you started. Okay, so Lisa says we use it too. I assume that's Matthew-C. Well, there you go. Renelle says she uses Matthew-C from Maths Australia, plus origami. Paper Sloyd? What's Paper Sloyd? Is that a typo or have I never heard of that? Patterns, jigsaws, games. Yeah, so maths, Monopoly is great for maths. That's all in base 10. Things like tangrams and geoboards, any game that involves any sort of counting or adding. Poker, even, that's maths. Skipbo is a card game that we really like. Lisa said they've done teaching textbooks online, but that's computer dependent. Yeah, I haven't tried that. I have heard of it. It seems to be pretty well reviewed, but I haven't looked at it. All right, so how are we going? Any more questions about what we use? Any sort of good book recommendations or anything like that? I was actually going to bring some in here. So if you're looking for a book to read aloud with your teens, I was going to recommend the Arc of the Scythe series from Neil Schusterman. We read these recently. Gabrielle actually read them aloud to us and they were really good. They're good quality, very complex, fantastic storyline. You know, they've got romance without being tacky. They've got violence without being, you know, drowning in blood baths. And yeah, they're fantastic. So they are a dystopian. They're a young adult novel, suitable more for probably 12 and up. My 11-year-old really liked them, but he's used to hearing books that are above his reading age. Yeah, highly recommend you go and get those. They will keep you occupied for a while if you're able to read them out loud or get the audiobooks. Probably one note about them, they are future-based, it's dystopian, and there's no real religion in the books. I haven't seen any Christian reviews of them. We're not Christian, so I don't know. You'll have to have a look for that yourself if that is a concern for you. I know a lot of people don't like anything that could be seen anti-religion, and that there could be that included. Okay, so Renelle has linked to Paper Sloyd, which is a Charlotte Mason thing, so I will have to go and do that. The Power of Half is an awesome book to read to your kids. I haven't read that, basically. Renelle said Paper Sloyd is basically origami without cutting, only folding. It can be a bit more challenging. Okay, my eldest is a bit of an origami purist, and she says there's no cutting in full origami. I think we got in trouble for that. So I have to look at that. All right, so I don't have any more questions. This will be available on the page for ever, basically. I will also put it on YouTube for people who aren't on Facebook, and I'll embed it into the blog posts that I have here. So don't forget to go and visit that blog post. I will add more bits and pieces to it. Like I said, I want to keep the overwhelm. There we go, there's a link to it again. I will try to keep the overwhelm avoided, so that you don't have to go dig through lots of stuff. So basically, to summarize, we said keep with the basics. So do some English, which is lots of reading, do some maths, which can be as simple as workbooks or whatever the school recommends, do some science with mystery science and some easy science experiments. So you've got that done, you're covered. And then add in whatever else you want. So things like outdoor time, building project, hobbies, craft, art, pets, home projects, life skills, all of those things. You're going to have lots and lots of time to fill up, to start off with. So take advantage of it. You know, we don't always get opportunities where we're forced to stay home, where we're forced to have spare time, where we've got to learn to be unbusy. So take advantage of it and turn it into a positive, because you can have a really, really great time at home. So I hope you do. And if you have any more questions, then you're welcome to post these in the chat. You're welcome to put them in the comments on the blog or on YouTube. I will answer them as soon as I am able. And thanks for coming along. I'll see you soon.